exercise is linking Revit models. Let's go back here. Where did it go? Oh, sorry, here. Our second exercise is around model integration. This is one where the demo that Sahil and Janet will show you is very important. Since the videos for this course were created, BIM 360's moved into ACC. It's almost the same, and you'll see very similar workflows, but it is technically a different interface. And so we'll be bringing these models together in Autodesk Construction Cloud. Back to the why, the primary use cases in Autodesk Construction Cloud are largely around coordination, really seeing how do the different building systems work together, where are there clashes, and so that's once we brought the models together, we can put together tests where we're detecting those clashes and then resolving the issues. I think the big shift that I start seeing on well-run design coordination projects is avoiding the clashes to begin with. And that's really powerful as people start working more in the cloud and are using ACC as a tool throughout their projects, is to be, while you're designing, keeping in mind the other systems, and so avoiding the clashes in the first place. And so we'll also walk through an exercise of Autodesk Construction Cloud so that you're well prepared for the modules assignments this week. So I have to depart in a couple of minutes and turn it over to the CAs. Before I depart, any questions for me? Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll turn it over to go through the walkthroughs.
Thanks, Daniel. I do have a question for you, if you would be willing to answer that. When you were working on when Via Technic was working on the AC2 project, the Apple AC2 Park project, how many subcontractors or trade partners were there in a linked model?
That's a good question. I can get you the actual number. I know it was over 100. The way they bought out the project, it was very large. And so there wasn't just one mechanic. Well, there's the design side, and then there's the construction side, right? That feeds into this like model breakdown strategy as well. We were involved during construction. They didn't just hire one mechanical contractor, they hired several. And so I know there was over 100. The model linking and the design coordination got really interesting because the design did not end until construction ended. We had a moment, it was actually really interesting. We had a moment where the CEO is walking through the building, it's already being built, and says, you know, whenever I make an announcement, I want everybody in the building to hear it. What would that look like? And so like literally this project is almost done with BIM coordination. It's built enough that the CEO is walking through it. And we then needed to figure out, how do you put speakers everywhere, right? From your office areas to the bathroom, so that Tim Cook makes an announcement and everybody hears it at the same time. And so new designer on board, new contractor on board, definitely linking those models well after coordination. Also, we don't really get into it in this course, also linking laser scan data so that we understood what was actually in the field and re-coordinating so that we could get those in. So there was over 100, and it was, you know, fascinating design coordination and construction coordination workflows. Great question.
Thank you so much for bringing those insights. Okay, so we'll get started with the ACC. Let me share my screen quickly. And let's make it a little interactive. We will take you through the ACC model. Also, I see that some of the people have already started signing up. If you guys are not able to meet any of these slots, let us know and we can try and figure out another time. Email us, the TAs, or put down in Slack your availabilities, and we can look for more slots to open up for you guys to sign up. Let me jump into ACC real quick. Okay, so on ACC, you will see there are Model 2 examples. There are 3 different models here. We'll go through 2 of them on ACC and 1 of them on Revit. When I come to the Audubon Center, I see there are 3 different models here. The first one is architecture, we have MEP and structure. And what happens when we open up, let's say, architecture? So this gives you a preview of the whole model, which was built in Revit. You can click on any of these items, and if you go to the left pane over here, you will see the model browser icon. When you click on that, you select any of these items, it will show you what exactly that is. For example, when I'm clicking on this wall here, it shows me the hierarchy this wall is under. So this is under exterior wood panel metal stud. If I select this small little piece here, this is a system panel, which is under the glazing in the curtain wall. So you can query any of these items when you click on that. And for example, let's check what is this thing. This is a collector box. So this is a drain collector for the rainwater. Any questions on that so far? I'm going to take questions while we are on the move. Just feel free to unmute yourself and let me know if you have any questions. If I don't hear any questions, then I'm just going to move to the next step. Okay, so what happens when you are able to select, let's say, a bunch of these items and click on this small icon, which seems like an eye, you can turn it off and it just hides the item that you selected. And you can peek into the architecture, you can look into what's happening here, what kind of furniture is there, what elements are modeled inside this building. Another quick thing, you can also filter by levels, categories, and disciplines. Let's say you want to see, this model is definitely only architecture, so you can only see architecture being highlighted when I bring my cursor on that. You can also go into categories, let's say doors. When you select this, you can only see the doors. So the filter has worked and it will only bring up items which you select. If you want to bring back the items which you have previously hidden, you can right click on in the view and then click on show all objects. And then let's say we want to see the roof items. You see all the roof items which were modeled in Revit. Coming back to the previous folder, we see the MEP model. I'm going to open that up and walk you guys through it quickly. So what all do you see here? Can any of you unmute yourself and just guess what is this big rectangular thing here in the middle? Any guesses? This is the MEP for the Audubon Center. We can see that this is connecting to ducts. It's being connected to the air ducts. It's taking the, and also bringing the air back. Any guesses? Drew, would you like to take a quick guess at that?
Yeah, is that the mechanical room for the facility?
Close enough. This is actually a mechanical equipment. So it's modeled as mechanical equipment. This is AHU, the air handling unit. So the function of air handling unit is to bring in all the air which is being circulated in the building and also throw out the air. So technically, that is why you see there are ducts which are coming in and going out of this. So this is an air handling unit. We can also take a look at the ducts and the diffusers, which are here. These ones are diffusers, these small little things that you see in your ceiling in all the rooms in Y2E2. Those are the grills, the supply diffusers. There are also return diffusers. If you take a look at any of these, it should be so there are different types of supply diffusers, and also there are return diffusers. So this will be branching out on a different line. We might have to do a little bit of quick finding there to find a return. I'm not sure if there's a return model here, so I can search for a return diffuser and it shows me this one is a return. I just did a quick search by typing in return, and I was able to find the return diffusers. Okay, and coming back to the whole model, we also see these lines which are painted in red. Would anybody like to guess what would that be? It's connecting to a sink. It's going up to the next level. So this building is essentially only level 1, but it's going up. So means that there should be something happening here. Also, it's connecting to the drains. So let me just track this down all the way. It's always connecting to the bottom of the sink or the WC. So you see this is a waste pipe, right? And this whole structure is modeled throughout the whole building, connected in a system. Similarly, you see these cable trays, which are for any communication lines or for running the cables which are connected to equipments. You also see the lighting fixtures and the hangers which are modeled along with that. These are connected to the roof. These are drilled into the roof and then suspended down for the lighting fixtures to be embedded. So you can pretty much see there are all the different mechanical, electrical, plumbing items there. You can also quickly go through the hierarchy here. And if you want to see only specific items like pipes or pipe fittings, you can just click on that and filter that and just see only those items in the 3D view. Any questions on that? Or we can jump into the structural model quickly. All right, so going to the structural model. So there are foundation items here, which should be modeled as pile structures. It's a generic pile. There are pile caps, which transfer the load from column to the pile. And then you see there are columns, which are supporting the beam structures. And then you see these little items, which are trusses. Also, you see there are analytical panels, which are converted from Revit. These are essentially the floor panels, which get converted to analytical items. and you will see bracings which are connecting the different columns and supporting the miscellaneous structure. So this is pretty much all the items which we have in an MEP structure and architectural model. Coming back to another example to see what is the expanse of a project. Let's say we go into an integrated model which has architectural, structural, and MEP, everything combined in one single model. Since this is hosted on cloud, I don't have to worry about the compute power that my system can handle. ACC pretty much takes care of all of the compute, and we can, in real time, manipulate the model as we like. So let's say if you want to go into any of the sections which is in here and take a look at the staircase there, you can also manipulate the model using the sectioning tools here, which you see in the bottom ribbon. I would select on section analysis and then click on add Z-plane. So I can clip this down from top to bottom and then go into this middle section over here so I can take a look at the staircase. You can also, instead of doing a Z-plane, use, let's say, a box and clip it up and down, left and right, and take a look at any of the sections which you want to. And similar thing can definitely be done in Revit as well. It helps in looking into the minute details and peek into the model quickly and see if you are missing anything, or for example, if you have to find any discrepancies in the modeling. Let's quickly take a look at this section right here. You see that in the middle, we have a railing which is just hanging in the air. So the floor is missing, and you can identify that quickly if you are able to view this thing in 3D without worrying about the compute power. Another thing that I would like to show you guys quickly when we come back to the hospital building MEP, there are a lot of services in a hospital building. For example, you can take a look at all the ductwork which is here. You can also look at these tiny little things which are suspended. And guessing the architecture that we saw, these are going into each of the patient rooms or the ERs. And if I click on that and look into the component, the model browser, it will tell us that this is actually a med gas outlet. So a hospital building has more MEP, more complex MEP, and more services to cater to. So that's why you see this whole model is very detailed, and you can take a look at how the diffusers are going into each of the rooms, how we have the med gas outlets, the electrical outlets, the switchboards and everything integrated into this MEP model. And then you see this is the roof level height. If we look at the whole building structure, this is actually on the top of the building. These are AHUs which are always put on the roof or the topmost level, and they connect to the ductworks and they bring in the air, circulate them, and throw in fresh air. these little ones with the fans on the top is a cooling tower. This is a chiller, which helps in cooling the air by heat transfer. You can also find these on a level below. And then we have the boilers, the heat exchanger. These are chillers, which also can be called boilers. If you are heating up the water in industrial buildings, you will see boilers, and in hospital or commercial buildings, you will see these are chillers. The expansion tank, these are all part of MEP system. You also see the pumps, the base motors to circulate the water. And these are pretty much acting as a single system. These are all connected in a sequence. All right, let me quickly jump into the next section. If anybody has a question, let me know, and we can take care of that right now, or we'll jump into the Revit part. Okay, seems like we don't have any question. Okay, so let me open up my Revit quickly, and I can go to the, sorry about that, the folder where I have saved the Revit models. So you can find these models on ACC in under the mixed use retail and office folder. You will find there are 3 different files over here. These are the ones that I've downloaded to my local. You also see so if you look at the file name, it says mixed use structure 2023, mixed use architecture 2023, and you see a few more files which are appended with a sequence 0001, 0001, 0002. What are these? These are backup files which are created when you start working on Revit. These will automatically be saved in your local folder, and these help in recovering the work in progress if it gets lost. Anytime while you're working, you can set a timer for your backup files to be generated. Let me open up the structural or the architecture model real quick, and we can generate an NWC out of that. So I'm going to open the architectural model. It's going to take a while. I hope it does not take too long. Okay, so some of you would already have seen this building when you were working on 120A or 220A course. This was in module 8 when we start working on work sharing. This is the same model. What can we do with this model? We can link in, let's say for now, I just want to see what exactly is in there. I can cross-select everything, go to this little tiny filter option in the bottom right, and just click on that and see what all is there. So we see ceilings, curtain panels, doors, facades, plumbing, fixtures, railing, shaft, walls, and windows. These are pretty much everything architecture except this thing. So I'm gonna just take a look at what exactly are these 2 items here. So I select that. You can see in the filter it says 24. I'm gonna tap HI, which gives me isolated item, and you can see the appearance on the outer. You can see there's a change in the color. It says temporary hide isolate. You can take a look at what were those 24 items. These are the generic models and plumbing fixtures. So this is not all of the MEPs. So what we can do is we go to manage links, and you can click on manage links, bring in the Revit file, click on add. I'm gonna select the MEP first, and you can link using three different so there are four different options here. You can link using any of the positioning methods. I would suggest to go for internal origin to internal origin. In case there are different designers and different people working on different model bases, and they have different origins assigned, you can go with the shared coordinates, which are assigned by the BIM coordinator, or by the help of bringing all the coordinates together. You can have a shared coordinate which everybody decides, and that's given in the BIMX plan, the BIM execution plan. That's a task when you set up all different multidisciplinary files. I would suggest to always go with internal origin to internal origin. In case you are not able to align your models, you should be publishing a shared coordinate and then making sure that everything is following the shared coordinate. If you have any trouble throughout this course working out with the positioning or with the origin, setting the origin or shared coordinates, reach out to the TAs and we will be able to help you out with that. So for now, I'm just going to click on origin to origin and then click open. So it says loaded. I'm just going to click OK. And you don't see anything because it's inside. What can I do? I can just cross-select this, go to the filters again, and look for Revit link. I click on Revit link, click OK, tap HI, gives me the isolated linked model. You can take a look at this. These are all the ducts, the plumbing fixtures, pretty much all of the MEP that was modeled in the MEP file. The shortcut that I used was, let me bring up my notes real quick here, and I can show you this. Okay, so HI is for hide, isolate. HR is to bring back or reveal hidden items. So if I have to show back all the items that I had in this view, I will tap HR and we'll pretty much be able to see everything which was there. So that's how you link a model. And let's say we have to link the structural model as well, bring in the structural model. It's going to take a while. I'm just going to cancel this for now. I did not upgrade this file. It's in Revit 2023 version. I had upgraded the other two files, the MEP and the architecture file. That's why we did not have to go through that process. Now, if anybody has a question, please feel free to speak up now, or we'll jump on to exporting NWCs and see how that works. I know this is a tough thing. Just don't feel shy, speak up, and it will help everybody else as well. If you have any questions at this point, let me know, and we can go into more details onto that, or we'll address that separately. Alrighty, so since I don't hear any questions, let me jump on to the next part. So what is the NWC? You guys would have already gone through the modules and watched the tutorial videos and everything in the model 2. It talks about, let's go back to the model 2 quickly. Talks about how do you work with the multidisciplinary model? The examples are there as well. How do you link a Revit model? How do you create a new link Revit model, which we did just now? And then it talks about exporting a model to Navisworks Manage. In this part, when you go in and look at the things which are being taught, you will see that we are talking about NWCs, NWF, NWD. What are those things? Let me quickly walk you guys through understanding what is a federated model. So a federated model is a model which has everything connected in a single file. For example, when we have a Revit file, we have the linked architectural MEP in the structural model. Is there a question? Okay, no worries. So when we connect everything together in a single model, we call it a federated model. A federated model means that all the different trades are combined in a single model, and you can take a look at the different services which are modeled at the same place with the same coordinate system and which are connecting to a building structure, right? So how can you make a federated model? You can make a federated model in Navisworks when you export out NWCs, which are the Navisworks cache files. You can create a federated model. So there are different file structures, the NWC, NWF, and NWD, which you see on your screen right now. C stands for a cache file, F stands for a file set, and D stands for a document. So these are three different file structures that you see with Navisworks. When we have a Revit model, we can export out all the disciplines into different NWCs, which is a Navisworks cache file. Let me do that real quick. So let's say I'm going to unlink the model that we had. I'm going to manage links and click on this link which we loaded previously, and I'm going to unload that. That's okay. Click on OK. Now we only have the architectural model. I'm going to turn the plumbing fixtures and the generic model that we saw previously. I'm going to just get rid of those. I'm going to tap HH, which is hide selected elements. That's a shortcut for hiding selecting elements. So you only see all the architectural items now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export an NWC. To export an NWC, you need to go to File, Export, click on NWC. So when you do that, the items which are visible in your 3D view will be exported as NWC. You can also check the settings which are here on the export dialog box. When you click on that, it gives you all of these options. We can go into these options in more detail later on. For now, you can see that there are three different options here. You can export the current view, or you can export the entire project or the selection that you have made in the view. So I'm going to export only the current view so we don't see those plumbing fixtures which were there in this file. And I'm going to export it on the shared coordinates, not the project internal. Also, you can feel free to play with any of these options. And if you have any questions on these, let us know and we'll address those. Specifically, the facetting factor, it helps in bringing down the polygons on an MEP when you're exporting out an MEP file. So just this is a quick tip. If you are facing trouble with the MEP model and it's really heavy, try adjusting the facetting factor. So I'm going to click OK, and then let's say I append another number here so that I can export this NWC. I click save, and you can see this exporter exporting out an NWC. Okay, so now we have, if I go back to my folder, we have the NWC folder, and you can see this one, which is exported as an NWC. So we have architectural, MEP, and I'm gonna quickly open up the structural file. Also, it might require a quick upgrade from Revit 2023 to 25. So whenever you have a file in Revit, which is from a previous version, you can always upgrade it. However, the inverse is not possible. So if you if you save a file in Revit 2025, you cannot open it in Revit 2023. Make sure you always follow the sequence and not end up in trouble later on. So this is a structural file. Again, since I have upgraded it, I'm gonna save it back. I'm gonna go to File, Save, and check back in my folder that it's saved back to the folder. So it says 11 means right now it just got saved back to my local. And then I'm going to export an NWC. The process is similar to the one that we did just a few moments ago. You don't have to go into anything, but just I'm checking all the settings are default, and then just export out the structural NWC. Now, once I do that, I can go back to my folder again and check for NWC. So now we have structural, architectural, and MEP. Coming back to this, once we have exported out all the discipline files at NWC, we can create an NWF by appending all of those files in Navisworks. So now I'm going to open up Navisworks Manage. I have the 2020 version. I hope that works totally fine. So once my Navisworks opens up, I can append all of those files, the NWCs that we exported, by clicking on this option on the top left. So you can select multiple files or select files one by one. I'm gonna select all of these together and click open. So now you can see everything that we exported out from from Revit model, the building model that we have previously created, is exported out as a NWC, and you can see now this is imported into Navisworks, and you can save this. Let's say you want to save this as a file. It would always be showing you to save as an NWF or an NWD. You cannot save an NWC out of multiple NWCs which are appended in a Navisworks Manage project. So coming back to this is a quick process. You export out all the TradeWise models from Revit and follow the file naming structure. Always follow the file naming structure so that you can remember exactly which date had you exported this out, what is the project name, append your initial name initials. For me, this is SD Sahil Dhaka, and then you export out the you also append the trade, so architecture, structure, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. And then when you append all of these files in NWF in Navisworks, which we just did, and save as an NWF. Let me go back and save it. When you save as an NWF, project 1 1725 and federated. I'm going to call this a federated model and just save it. So now this is a federated model. You can see on the top, it says the file name. When you go back to the folder, you will see this is an NWF. If you have to share this file with anybody, when you share an NWF file, you can see the file size, it's only 4 KBs, right? It's not in MB, or it's not combining all of these file sizes. The reason for that is that this is just a shell and it's linking all the NWCs. This is not the master file. You cannot share only the NWF. Whenever you share, you'll have to share all the files, including the NWCs. So an NWF cannot independently act as a single file. That's why we have NWD. If you want to share only one file and you call it a document file, it will be an NWD. And NWD is always a set of all the NWCs combined, and you can share it as an independent file. For a quick demonstration, I'm gonna save this whole file that we created as an NWD, and then go back and check the size of the file. It's 1.25 MB. That means that all of the files that we previously had are combined into this one file. Another quick thing, before I turn it over to Jayant, you can walk into this model using and now you can see another quick update that I wanted to show you guys. You can see that it's now called NWD. When you expand this will show NWDs inside, sorry, the NWCs inside, and you can expand these to see the level-wise components which were modeled just as we did in the ACC project viewer. Quick manipulation of the model. When you click on any of the items, or you select any item and then you go to item tools, you can click on move, and this gizmo appears. You can move any of these items out of the view, or if you want to manipulate that, you can see. You want to explode the model, you can use any of these tools. You can also use the when you go, I'm sorry about that. When you go to the viewpoint section here on the top ribbon, you will see sectioning, which is another tool that you can use to section and view the model. So once you go into, let me do that again real quick. Once you go into the viewpoint, you can enable or disable sectioning. When you enable sectioning, you have these options over here, which are planes and box. I like to play with box. So when you click on box, you can move the box up and down, and you can just section the model however you like. So you can go into it and quickly take a look. We also have walkthrough tools in there. So you can select this walk tool, which is on the ribbon on the right. Once you do that, you can drag your mouse after clicking the left click and just walk into the room and look up and down by scroll. So that's pretty much all of it that I wanted to show you guys on the Navisworks. I'll turn it over to Jayant for a quick walkthrough of ACC and how we can create a linked file and do the class detection.
Thank you, Sahil. Let me share my screen and yeah, great. Okay, I'll try to be quick about this. So here we are going to be working on how to model, like how to integrate our models into Autodesk Construction Cloud and how to do clash detection. The first step is open your ACC model and you'll go to this file called part B, copy and rename these files. Here you can go and select all three of the files, which are architecture, structural, and tenant improvement, and select copy. Now you can select what is the destination to copy this file, and here we have this folder saying copy your files here. You'll select that and copy the files. Now you can open the folder and you can see that there's some files that are being processed. And once they finish processing, you can go in, you can right click and rename all the files based on your last name. All right. Now, once you have renamed the files, you can select all three files. And again, you need to copy them. And this time the model, the copy destination is in coordination space. And you can select the folder based on your last name. So for me, it will be last name S through T. And once you copy them, you can go to the coordination space. And once again, it will take some time to process. These are pretty small files, so they will be processed very quickly. But when you're working on big files, it takes a bit longer and you might need to wait for a minute or two. Now, once the files have finished processing, you can go to model coordination. And we have linked the previous folder to model coordination. So it will show up all the files that you have uploaded there and do clash detection. Now, for me, this folder is last name S through T. If for some reason it's opening some other folder, you can go and change the folder to find the files that you have uploaded. Now we'll wait for a minute for ACC to finish the clash detection, and then we can go and see the files. So now that these files have been processed, you can see there are clashes, different number of clashes in each file. So to view a clash between two different files, what we'll do is we'll select those files. So part one of this practice exercise is selecting tenant improvement and architectural model with all architectural element. Once you select the two files, you select open in viewer. Now, this has filtered those two files and opened them in an integrated manner. And you can save this view. And here you have two privacy settings, private or public, based on if you're working on a team and you want all the project members to be able to view this, or you want only yourself and the project admins to be able to see this. Now, we'll name this as last name hyphen practice exercise hyphen part 1 and save view. So once the view has been saved, you can get out of this view from the top right corner. And now in the left ribbon, you can go to clashes. And as you can see, there are 4 files, and there's a 4x4 matrix showing clashes between between multiple pair of files. Now, the reason we created a view is so that we can filter this matrix. And you can imagine if there were even more files, it will be a bigger matrix of 10 by 10, 15 by 15, and it's difficult to find the pair that that is necessary. And once you filter it, you can see there's only a 2x2 matrix, which makes it a lot easier to find what class you want to see. Now you can go and open on the left side, which are the rows. These are the primary model or the base model. And in the columns, which are like on the top, these are the secondary models for clash detection. Now you can open the architectural model as the primary model and tenant improvement as the secondary model. And you can open that, and you can see that there are a list of 48 clashes here. And if you select any one of the clash, it highlights that clash and zooms in. You can see there's a green object and there's red object. So you can also use the view box to change the view. And now you can see there are 2 green objects. So this represents 2 clashes with one other model. So here there are 2 objects, so 2 doors from two walls from one object, which is architectural model, clashing with one wall from the tenant improvement model. Now we can get out of this view and go back to the model, and here we will select the structural model and the architectural all element model again and create a new view. We'll save this view as Tanva, your last name, practice exercise. And part 2. And go back to the clashes, and you can go to the drop-down menu and select the part 2. So like I was saying, when you open a file, it shows you how many objects from one file is clashing with the number of objects from different files. And that is also the reason you can see that there are 2 different numbers. So what this represents is there are 354 objects from structural model that are clashing with 147 objects from the architectural model. Here we are going to open the structural model as the base one. Now, this is typically how your project will look like, a lot of green and red objects. And you can select an object, select a clash. As you can see, there are 758 clashes here. So this is a type of minor clash. As you can see, the architectural floor and the structural floor are clashing because they are on the same level, and that is indeed how we design a building. So you can select minor clashes such as these and then select not an issue. And what it does is you can say it is a valid interface, or yeah, it is a valid interface, and ignore these errors. So what it does is it ignores those errors the next time you open this file. Now we can go to group by object and search for data and go to identity data / type name. And here we can go and select clash HSS 6x6. So here you can see the structural braces are clashing with the curtain wall and the entrance. Now, this is a major type of error. What you can do is, for this type of error, you create an issue and assign it to your teammates for resolution. Since you're working as an individual here for this course, you will assign it to either me or Sahil. So what you do is you first select it's a clash. So let me cancel this. And so you select the type of issue. It can be a clash. It can be there is some problem with following the building code, or there is some design error, and there's some safety issue with particular model being in certain place. So for now, you can select clash, and you can click anywhere in the view. We would recommend clicking near the clash, so it creates an issue. Now, once you create an issue, you can go and select who are the watchers. You can assign watchers, or you can assign it to someone who wants to resolve it. So if you are working in a team, and let's say I am an structural engineer, I can either assign it to myself, and so it will give me a reminder that I have to go and update the bracing design so that it doesn't clash with the curtain walls. And once you have done that, it will give me a reminder. It will send me an email saying that someone from your team has assigned you an error that you have to go and resolve. You can also assign it to, let's say, if it was Sahil is working as an architecture engineer, and we think the structural braces is necessary to be in this location, and it is important to change the location of the curtain wall. You can assign it to your architecture engineer, and it will send an email notification to them. Now, one thing to note here is all these clashes happen when two objects are on the same 3D point. So if there is somehow gap between two objects, ACC doesn't detect clashes in that manner. There are different ways to do such clash detection. As Sahil had shown previously, you can open a file in ACC and add a section plane, and you can go inside the building to see if there are some gaps. For example, there can be gaps between a beam and a column, which would prevent load transfer, and you can view those clashes like this. Or else you have different software such as eTabs to do loading analysis, which will show you if there is a problem with the structural modeling. And this way you can filter down the list of clashes so that every time you open a file, you don't have to go through thousands of clashes. All right, that's all for clash detection. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Otherwise, we're good to go.
All right, then. We don't see any questions. Feel free to reach out to us via Slack. Put in your question in Model 2 question channel, or email us and drop into the office hours. Also, don't forget to sign up for the check-in sessions. We have the sheet link posted on Canvas, also on Slack. Please sign up for the slots, and we'll be meeting you guys in the check-in sessions next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for making it to the kickoff session. Also, everybody who's watching online, please make sure that you are submitting all the assignments on time. If you are facing any trouble, please let us know and just communicate. We'll be formally closing now. All right, thank you. Have a good day.